The Book of Ezra, Chapter 8. These are the heads of their fathers' clans, and this is the genealogy of those who went up with me from Bavel during the reign of Artaxerxes, the king. Of the descendants of Pinchas, Gershom. Of the descendants of Itamar, Daniel. Of the descendants of David, Hattush. Of the descendants of Shechaniah. Of the descendants of Parosh, Zechariah. And with him 150 males officially registered. Of the descendants of Pachat Moav, Eliochoine, the son of Zerachiah, and with him 200 males. Of the descendants of Shechaniah, the son of Yachaziel, and with him 300 males. Of the descendants of Adin, Eved, the son of Jonathan, and with him 50 males. Of the descendants of Elam, Yeshiah, the son of Ataliah, and with him 70 males. Of the descendants of Shephatiah, Zebadiah, the son of Michael, and with him 80 males. Of the descendants of Joab, Obadiah, the son of Yechiel, and with him 218 males. Of the descendants of Shlomet, the son of Josephiah, and with him 160 males. Of the descendants of Bavel, Zechariah the son of Bavel, and with him 28 males. Of the descendants of Azgad, Yochanan the son of Hakatan, and with him 110 males. Of the descendants of Adonikam, the younger ones, whose names were Eliphalet, Yeiel, and Shemaiah, and with them 60 males. And of the descendants of Bigvai, Utai and Zakur, and with them 70 males. I assembled them by the river that runs to Ahava, and we camped there 3 days. I reviewed the people and the Kohanim, but found no Leviim there. So I sent for Eleazar, Ariel, Shemaiah, Elnatan, Yariv, Elnatan, Nathan, Zechariah, and Meshullam, who were leaders, and also for Yoyariv and Elnatan, who were men of discernment. I gave them instructions for Iddo, the leading man in a place called Kesaphiah, and told them what to say to Iddo and his brothers, who were in charge of Kesaphiah, so that they would bring us men to minister in the house of our God. Since the good hand of our God was on us, they brought us Ish-Shekel, from the descendants of Machlai, the son of Levi, the son of Israel. Sherebiah, with 18 of his sons and kinsmen. Hashabiah, with Yeshaiah, from the descendants of Merari, and 20 of his kinsmen and their sons, and from the temple servants, whom David and the princes had assigned to serve the Leviim, 200 temple servants, all recorded by name. Then, there at the Ahava River, I proclaimed a fast, so that we could humble ourselves before our God, and ask a safe journey of him for ourselves, our little ones, and all our possessions. For I would have been ashamed to ask the king for a detachment of soldiers and horsemen to protect us from enemies along the road. Since we had said to the king, the hand of our God is on all who seek him, for good, but his power and fury is against all who abandon him. So we fasted and asked our God for this, and he answered our prayer. Then I separated 12 of the chief Kohanim, along with Sherebiah, Hashabiah, and 10 of their kinsmen. I weighed out to them the silver, the gold, and all the utensils for the house of our God, contributed by the king, his counselors, his princes, and all Israel present there. I weighed out and handed over to them 21.5 tons of silver, 3 1/3 tons of silver articles, 3 1/3 tons of gold, 20 gold bowls weighing 21 pounds, and 2 vessels of fine burnished bronze as precious as gold. Then I told them, You are consecrated to Adonai, the articles are holy, and the silver and gold are a voluntary offering for Adonai, the God of your ancestors. Guard them carefully, until you weigh them before the chief Kohanim and Leviim, and the leaders of their fathers' clans in Yerushalayim, in the rooms of the house of Adonai. So the Kohanim and Levim received the consignment of silver and gold and the articles to bring to Yerushalayim, to the house of our God. On the 12th day of the first month, we left the Ahava river to go to Yerushalayim. The hand of our God was on us, and he protected us from enemies and surprise attacks along the road. In time, we arrived at Yerushalayim, where we rested for 3 days. On the 4th day, the silver, gold, and articles were weighed in the house of our God, and handed over to Merimmat, the son of Uriah the Kohen. With him was Eleazar, the son of Pinchas, and with them were Jozabad, the son of Yeshua, and Noadiah, the son of Binui, who were Leviim. The entire consignment was numbered and weighed, and at the same time the total weight was recorded. The exiles who had returned from captivity offered burnt offerings to the God of Israel, 12 young bulls for all Israel, 96 rams, 77 lambs, and 12 male goats as a sin offering. All this was a burnt offering for Adonai. They also delivered the king's orders to the king's viceroys and governors beyond the Euphrates River, and these gave their support to the people and to the house of God.